The story continues with Count Cesare states that he will be sending a marriage proposal for her in her house and adds that he will do it as early as the next morning. According to him, it will be a good reason for Ariadne to stay away from Alfonso, adding that he surely cannot bear to see her with someone else. After staying shocked for a while hearing what he said in the beginning, Ariadne starts to laugh at the remarks made by Count Cesare, and the length of her laugh continues to astonish Alfonso and Cesare at the same time. Ariadne reminisces that the marriage proposal that she had been wishing for in her past life is in front of her right now, but as now she is desperately trying to move away from him, he is trying to do the complete opposite of it for some reason. She considers that the whole thing must be some kind of play and claims to Cesare that he shouldn't be saying the things that easily which he himself doesn't even mean in the first place. She adds that she knows that his heart is lighter than a reed for sure, so it should be a good reason for him not to talk or converse with someone like her. She hopes that he will be able to live freely instead of dwelling himself in these things, but Count Cesare thinks that he is not the way she thinks he is, claiming that she surely doesn't even know him that well. He claims that there is nothing wrong with her being his bride in the first place, stating that someone like her will be the perfect wife for him. At that moment, Alfonso is enraged, claiming that Cesare should already shut his trap as in his perspective. Cesare is not even in a position to ask for a noblewoman to ask for her hand for marriage. He concludes the fact by saying that someone like him is even known in the high society for being a playboy, as the whole kingdom knows about his affair with the married woman nowadays. Count Cesare thinks that those are all in the past, so they shouldn't be talking about something like that. But he gets rather bashed by Alfonso, saying that his uncanny reactions for not being serious about something is the reason why he isn't recognized by their father. The whole motion of the conversation angers Cesare, but the moment Ariadne acts as the barrage between them, they are both forced to stop running their mouth, as she suggests to Alfonso that she will be helping him to find the Princess of Valoa for obvious reasons. When they continue to move away from the place, Cesare is losing his anger all alone and starts running away in the opposite direction. This whole ruckus was seen by the cunning little sister Isabella, who starts getting mad at her stepsister being adored by both of the handsome men in the high society, assuming that Ariadne must have been tempting the both of them on her own. But after walking down on the path for a while, she notices that the bracelet named Fleur de Lis is down on the ground, and it is the sole item that she had been wanting for her whole life. But the moment he holds onto the bracelet, the red ruby of the item ends up falling down on the ground, and she worries about it. But she thinks that there will be some way to get it fixed, but the moment she reminds herself that she shouldn't be dwelling into pathetic things, she starts to get angry once again. She thinks that the marriage proposal of Count Cesare should have been hers, but soon realizes that she never really liked someone like him. Then once again rises in full spirit, thinking that she will be the one to take Cesare away from Ariadne. On the other hand, Alfonso starts walking with Ariadne while he starts explaining why the princess was visiting them as the political process of the marriage. Before Ariadne was ever about to answer to her emotions, Ariadne starts making her to understand that she is merely using Alfonso to get her fate better, to rescue herself from the trap of death, and nothing else. After keeping her emotions in check, she congratulates him as a friend and starts looking for the exit of the garden. But while she continues to move on, Alfonso tried to speak out his feelings that he doesn't want to marry the princess, but is unable to do so, hoping that Ariadne would feel the same for him. He stands there alone, wondering if she wants him the way he wants her. Meanwhile, Isabella continues to wonder why both of them have to like Ariadne, as she is the ugly one between them both, and she assumes that Ariadne must have done something on them for sure. She thinks that as the only thing that she has is her body, she must have indecently thrown at both of them, which would explain why they want her. But still, nothing makes sense to her, since Ariadne will always be the ugly one to her, as she thinks of herself to be cute and adorable, who is constantly getting ignored by everyone. After walking for a while, Isabella starts to hear some sounds in the bushes, and the more she gets near the bushes, she feels like someone is moving in them while some kind of moaning sound is coming from there. The more she gets close, she starts to hear a moaning sound from the bushes, and as soon as she starts moving the bush from her sight, she notices that some unknown couple is having intercourse with each other in that place. But as the sight gets clearer to her, she notices that Marquess Campa is the one who is Guy, and she starts to wonder who must be the woman that is brave enough to fool with someone like him. Marquess Campa is the one who is illustrated as a malicious man around the kingdom, as once he caught syphilis from the brothel. He ended up killing both of his wives with that same disease, and the incident included some gore details as well. Someone like him would always cause problems to occur, and he is someone who is barely invited to any party within high society. Isabella thinks that if the woman is being forced to do something like that, it means that she needs to scream and starts to feel like she would need to call someone over. But the more she looks at the woman, she thinks that the woman must have been enjoying it for sure, which starts to confuse her even more. But as the mask ends up coming off of the woman's face, Isabella shrieks looking at the face as she recognizes the woman to be Ottavio's older sister, who is known all over the kingdom to be ladylike and even trustworthy in the first place. So it makes it quite unbelievable that someone like would be having an intimate relationship with the Marquess. Some people end up noticing the things happening, and the Marquess ends up dropping down on the ground, and Countess Badalini ends up running away from the scene while wearing the mask on her face once again. After seeing the whole scene from afar, Isabella thinks that it will be her chance to make something happen and drops the bracelet on the spot while laughing like a cunning fox. On the other hand, Alfonso and Ariadne are still looking for the princess, and while looking for her, Ariadne ends up taking a glance at a further spot where some people are forming a crowd. But the moment the people notice her, they start pointing at her as she was wearing the same clothes as Countess Badalini, as they start calling Ariadne to be Marquess Campa's secret mistress. Then when the women come to ask if the bracelet was hers, Ariadne notices that she ended up losing her bracelet and she doesn't even know when that happened. Ariadne believes that she knows what is happening, and as a woman was having some kind of affair with Campa, there is nothing more disgraceful than that. Ariadne knows that she wouldn't get out of the situation that easily and starts claiming to answer all of their questions. She makes them resolve, saying that there is no reason that she would come back if she was the mistress of the Marquess, and Isabella thinks that her plan is getting ruined as time passes. But someone ends up asking for proof, and while they are interrogating her, Isabella ends up coming in front of her, which makes her to realize what was happening truly. Then Isabella starts whispering into the ears of Lady Letitia, and Lady Letitia starts introducing herself to Ariadne like a fool, which ends up getting Ariadne in a sticky situation. People around Ariadne start talking about her as if she is the second daughter of the cardinal and she had done something like that with someone as defective as Marquess Campa. They start discussing how renowned she is in the field of theology, but for the reason of having indecent conduct starts to speak against her good name. Some even start to wonder how come she would begin doing something like that, and they keep on talking about how they can never know someone properly, as anyone would lose their mind whenever it is suited to their will. People start ordering her to take off her mask and claim that if she really was the secret lover, her makeup would have been bitten and cleaned off. They continue to berate her, constantly asking her if she had done something shameful, and even want to rub that off of her character, demanding her to prove her what she means is the truth. Ariadne knows that removing the mask wouldn't be that difficult for herself, but she knows that once she starts agreeing with the crowd, they will continue to demand a lot of things from her as the time will pass. She knows that she cannot be pushed by the circle around her, and she decides to fight back in her own personal way. She faces everyone, saying that the whole incident must be some kind of blunder, as she might be Ariadne, but there is no way that she is the secret lover of Marquess Campa, and at the same time, there is no way she should be in the position of proving anything to them all. But Isabella then barges in, saying that she cannot even take off her mask confidently, so there is no way she should be the one saying things like that. Everyone begins to support her once again, matching the whole incident relating to the outfit's color and even the bracelet. But then someone comes in that incident to change the whole wave of the situation. Alfonso barges in, saying that it is a misunderstanding as Ariadne was with him the whole time, which even shocks Ariadne herself. Alfonso remarks that there is no way he would let anyone harm her reputation of being pure, and fights with the commands made by the audience. But the audience soon blames even him, saying that they came separately at the time, so they will be needing more proof than his words. And Ariadne senses that claiming that Alfonso was with her would only create more problems from him. But even after knowing the consequences, Alfonso remarks that Ariadne was with her the whole time, from the beginning to the end, as he would be the one acting as the proof of her whereabouts. When the audience is silenced, he starts asking if she is all right, and Ariadne thanks the prince for helping him. But before the good ending was about to arrive, the princess barges in, saying that he was with her instead, and everyone starts to assume things about them as if she is the one who was in talks of being married with Alfonso. She even blames Ariadne for having intimate relation with someone like Marquess Campa, and Ariadne realizes that the scandal is spreading to Alfonso just because of her. She realizes that Marquess Campa isn't the issue, as now the whole thing is revolving around Alfonso. Before she could even process anything, Count Cesare comes in to insult Alfonso by standing in front of him, and when he comes up to Ariadne, he kisses her hand, asking what they should do, as someone is being quite jealous of her. Count Cesare starts explaining how Ariadne isn't the secret lover of the Marquess and not even the secret lover of Alfonso, adding that Ariadne was with him the whole time as he was asking her hand for the marriage. When it comes to the topic of bracelets, Cesare claims that the bracelet is his, as he claims that he bought it for Ariadne, as he explains that he bought the item as a set with the mask that she is wearing. To make his words proven again, he kneels down in front of Ariadne asking her hand in marriage once again in front of the whole audience this time. The proposal made by Count Cesare shocks not only Alfonso and Ariadne, but also the whole audience at the same time. But he also mentions that he was surely rejected by her at the time when he expressed his feelings to her. He goes on to explain how Ariadne didn't even accept his proposal after thinking about everything, and also adds that even Alfonso saw the whole thing happening as he was present at that spot. But he mentions that Alfonso was seeing the whole thing happening while acting like a rat in the bushes, as if he was hiding only to listen to them talk in their discussion. Alfonso tries to talk silently with Cesare, letting him know that he isn't accepting whatever that he is saying. But Cesare replies to say that he must have his fun as well while speaking his part in the whole audience. He suggests that Alfonso should be smiling back at him now since he is the one acting against the crowd to protect him. Alfonso continues to shake as Cesare continues to deliver his speech. He continues to cover for them both Ariadne and Alfonso, saying that he even escorted Ariadne on his own along with Alfonso. He plays his part to make the whole scenario look like how he wants, so nobody even questions about the scandal, giving them a solid alibi. Then when someone asks him about not taking the bracelet back, he starts relieving his feelings, saying that he made a gamble about making his feeling clear already, adding that the one who gave him the money to use on the bracelet was from Marquess Campa, just so the end result ends up protecting Ariadne from everyone blaming it all on her and Alfonso. He makes it look like she is someone who wouldn't accept something so heinous to create a scandal like Marquess Campa, and everyone starts to believe that Count Cesare surely has a point. This whole time Ariadne was listening, and she starts to wonder how come someone like Cesare, who likes to boast about him, is now degrading himself to make her look better in front of everyone. Cesare even adds that now if everyone will be moving out of the way, he will be making his move once again while keeping a straight face at them. When Cesare offers to take Ariadne's hand, she decides to comply with him while Alfonso keeps on looking at them from afar. Then the princess comes in claiming to Alfonso that the whole situation was just a big misunderstanding, saying that the brothers might have a loving relationship with each other and nothing else. After thinking a lot of things after moving on from the crowd, Ariadne thanks Count Cesare for protecting her, adding that she never thought the whole incident would get that messy. Before she is about to move on, he claims that she must be calling her Cesare if she wants to thank him, which would make him feel better. As he starts to elaborate on protecting her, she feels like it would have been natural for him, and they continue to argue with each other for another hour. Then in the end, Ariadne thanks Cesare once again, adding that he didn't have to do that for her, and he adds that there is no need for her to be thankful to him as he wanted to make it happen since he wished to be good in her eyes. He also adds that he wants her to keep accepting the gifts that he continues to send for her, suggesting her to be careful with Isabella. Cesare demands her to accept the bracelet from him with a serious look on his face, and she thinks that it will be only reasonable for her to do so. As she accepts his gift, he gets back in his previous demeanor, as he makes an evil grin, saying in his mind that the woman Alfonso desires is already him. Back when both of the men continued to protect Ariadne in the end and Cesare finished his speech for the crowd, Isabella starts to move on from the spot, realizing that she even failed to paint Ariadne as the secret lover of the tainted Marquess. She continues to walk on her own, saying that she couldn't even wonder that Cesare would arrive in so timely, and ends up stumbling on a pebble on the ground, which forces her to fall on the ground. The ruby that she was carrying ends up dropping away from her, and one woman who knows her comes up to ask her to see through the fallen gem that dropped elsewhere. The woman starts asking her if the gem surely belonged to her, and acts conscious about her feelings to see if she is all right. But annoyed Isabella knows that nothing is now going in the way how she wanted everything to be, so she suggests the woman to move on her own. But she somehow realizes that Isabella must be hiding something, and she mockingly claims that she was only caring about the friend who got hurt in the process. She even adds how Cesare and Alfonso both waltzed with the little sister of her, adding that there is no one left for her in the end to make it more shameful, so she could pinch her with that fact alone. The The woman claims that Isabella has no one's feelings built up for her can only depend on her father's powers and abilities, as she also adds that no matter if her father is a cardinal, he surely must be a commoner even if he continues to associate with noble families. When Isabella is about to curse on her face, she adds that Isabella must be speaking beautifully to her as she has to be refined on her own since she is not a noble birth in the first place, meaning that she will find no one to marry at the end of the age. At that moment, Isabella doesn't know how come someone who continues to humor her every time she went on to meet her is now acting out and lashing out on her with all of her abilities. The lady keeps on mocking Isabella on her face, saying that Isabella will not add that she is not looking for someone to marry for now to cover her unfortunate fate, adding that she must be playing with men here and there for sure. While insulting Isabella, she starts to think that she must be thanking Ariadne now since her brave elder sister is now helpless in front of her. At that moment, Isabella flips and starts talking about Ottavio de Contarini, stating that her sole fiancé barks like a dog whenever she asked him to do so. Isabella explains how complying he would be to act on her own accord whenever she wanted him to, and he would even go as far as kissing on her shoes if needed, insulting her friend to make her feel like shit as she doesn't have anything else to say. Isabella even rubs the whole fact on her face, adding that she shouldn't be taking it all the wrong way for her own good, as if she was just looking for her pitiful friend to begin with. Then when Isabella continues to move on, the lady shatters and starts shaking in anger, claiming that there is no way she would be letting it go from her grasp. Then a few days later, when everyone starts arranging into a tea party once again, everyone starts to feel amazed that Count Cesare even went so far as to get Ariadne in his grasp. They continue to research about the fact that even though those brothers do not get along, they tried to act together because they both have feelings for Ariadne. But the same lady from the argument back with Isabella is still not satisfied that they weren't able to find out the secret lover of Marquess Campa. Instead of dwelling on the same feeling, the lady acts out saying that she knows who the secret lover of the Marquess must be, adding that she has already seen Isabella having the red ruby from his bracelet, and unfortunately for Isabella, that news ends up reaching into the ears of the cardinal. As a result, the cardinal gets furious after hearing these from someone else and starts calling for Isabella the moment he gets to hear about it. Even when he reaches the door of Isabella, he shoves the door away to confront her, and at that moment, she doesn't even know what is about to happen to her. When she asks him why he is furious at her, he claims that there is some kind of rumor going around saying that Isabella is the one who is secretly having an affair with Isabella. But the moment Isabella ends up hearing it, she feels like she had been dropped from the skies, and starts asking about where he ended up catching the whims from. The cardinal begins to explain how people are claiming that Marquess ended up giving his bracelet to her, and when she feared that people will find out, she ended up keeping the ruby to herself as she was already in the area. The cardinal doesn't care about the truth since that is the thing that everyone is talking about right now. And even Isabella knows that no matter what she has the ruby, there is no way she is the secret lover of someone like Campa. To recover herself from the blame, Isabella claims that there is no way she has the ruby and she was quite in shock after seeing a man and a woman in such an intimate relationship. Then as the situation starts rolling, Ariadne chips in demanding to know how come Isabella didn't act for her good to protect Ariadne in the first place. Then the cardinal once again fires up against Isabella, and Isabella adds that she was purely shocked so she ended up forgetting to do so. Then when Isabella goes on to even act more dramatic about it, her little sister ends up getting her hands on the ruby and drops it down on the ground, which makes the cardinal so furious that he even forgets what he needs to say at that moment. When the ruby drops, Ariadne looks at her maid, knowing that they have planned it out from the start, and goes on to pick it to explain that it was the same ruby that came out of Campa's bracelet. She adds in front of the cardinal saying that Isabella might have framed her on her own accord knowing that Ariadne would be the one to suffer. She claims that Isabella might have done it to hide her own activities in the dark, as she is the secret lover of Marquess Campa in the first place. At that moment, furious cardinal demands from Isabella to speak the truth that he cannot stand him being lied to. When he asks that if they are looking at the ruby which came from Campa's bracelet, she starts yelling that it is not the same as what they were looking for. At that moment, Ariadne says to herself that she would have said it anyways, so she must have something substitute planned for it. Right at that moment, the maid comes in rushing, saying that she has it, and ends up bringing up the bracelet to her father which was given to her by the count. When she places the gem onto the bracelet and it even fits, Isabella deems saying that the lover of Campa herself wanted to keep it a secret from everyone, as there is no way she would have been the one to be in such a scandal with someone like Marquess Campa. The whole thing doesn't make any sense to the cardinal, But when Isabella continues to insist more and more in front of her, he ends up slapping her face. When the cardinal claims that he surely believes Isabella, Ariadne starts to wonder how come he is still able to side with Isabella even after knowing something like this, as it is something unbelievable. The cardinal also claims that nobody in the city would think that way for sure, demanding that from now on, Isabella will be forbidden from sending a letter or even take a step outside of the house until the whole situation dies down on its own. But the whole world ends up crumbling on her head, knowing that that way she wouldn't be able to tell anyone who the real culprit is. She goes on to request her father, saying that she will be needing to do something about it, but he moves on saying that they will be needing to take away everything luxurious from her room for sure. Not only that, but also, he states that she will be only fed twice a day, and she will be having water and stale bread as food. As the door is about to close on her face, Isabella only sees the smiling face of Ariadne in the end to feel the grave pain that she was supposed to have in the first place. On the other hand, Alfonso's father starts querying Princess Larissa about her experience at the masquerade ball, and when her man goes on to explain it, she adds that she will be the one to answer it. She starts smiling on the matter, saying that she would have to get accustomed to the language herself, so it would only be wise for her to answer their question on her own. The princess continues to praise the king, and at that same moment, Alfonso is losing his mind the moment she finally ends up saying that two of his sons ended up taking their masks off. The moment she claims that one was Cesare, she adds how Alfonso was the one who met with the fiancée of Count Cesare, who then ended up lying for Count Cesare. The translator finds himself in a sticky situation as the king claims that he might have missed something from the report for sure. The man starts bowing his head, asking for forgiveness, saying that he will be taking actions about them accordingly. At the same time, the king demands his wife to follow him along at the same time, which makes Alfonso say that he will be the one accompanying his mother, but she ends up forbidding him from doing so as if there is no need for that. Then when they all move on, Larissa starts asking Alfonso if she ended up making a mistake, but he decides not to answer it while saying that he will be escorting her to the lodging. Back inside the palace, the king continues to berate his wife, demanding to know about her courtship, as Alfonso surely isn't following their trail. The king is furious knowing that Alfonso had been spending time with Ariadne, and he lets her know that they have been negotiating with the Gallico kingdom, which will surely get hampered. The king states that there is no way she is fulfilling her duty since she cannot do anything that she is supposed to do. Then when the topic moves far into the matter of Alfonso having an intimate relationship with Ariadne, the queen feels a shock going through her spine. But she claims that there is no way Alfonso would do something like that, since he wasn't raised that shameless in the first place. She even clashes back with the father, demanding that there is no way he would be saying something like that without knowing anything, promising that Alfonso will go through this event wisely. Then when the queen comes back to meet Alfonso, he is heavily worried about her well-being. But the moment she gets back in her form, she demands her son to confirm that he would be able to deem that his soul is pure while swearing in front of Princess Larissa. Then Alfonso realizes how far the matter is about to stretch, and when his mother goes on to confirm the girl he likes, he keeps silent about Ariadne till the end. When he goes close to his mother, she praises him for being himself and that he never rushes to do anything, while keeping his head cool until the end. But she thinks that it might not be the issue of their family, adding that she even had a lover, and when he looks surprised, she adds that it was way before she was married and not entirely sure that she could even mark that man as her lover in the first place. She starts to explain how a man named Sir Bernard was the priest during the war, and she ended up falling in love with that person because of his lovely face and reserved smile. Then she adds that even though she feels like she was struck with a love fever, though when she received a letter from Alfonso's father, and the moment she took a look at his portrait, she instantly ended up disliking him for some reason. For some reason, she instantly hated looking at his eyes, and the moment she felt betrayed, she ended up coming in front of the same man she loved at the moment. She ends up explaining that she liked him for a long time, adding that there is no way she would like to spend her days without him, and begged him to take her away from the place as she would gladly live together and work in a field like commoners. But he ended up staying silent for a while, claiming that she somehow received a calling from heaven, and at the same time, he has a duty to fulfill, which is to guide her to the right path for sure. He claimed that she would be needing to devote herself to the kingdom of her own will, and when Alfonso looks shocked, she states that she didn't even know how to work in a field or raise sheep. She starts to explain how she had to return as much as she receives from the kingdom, and the people as they have supported her for the advancement of the kingdom. That is the reason why she chose to marry the man who is intended to lead the kingdom. while giving birth to Alfonso to keep up living with the bloodline, as the whole thing was her duty and calling to take care of. She even adds how Princess Valoa arrived with giant cannons and even enough gunpowder for a year's worth of military training, which is enough to explain that Alfonso will have to agree with the marriage boundary. She remarks how they wouldn't be able to lead the next generation with the power that they are getting served, demanding to know about his capability to keep the nation surviving. At that moment, Alfonso claims that he was always taught the wife of a king has to be a monarch, as she would be someone having the same level of wisdom and insight. In that case, nobody would be able to compete with Ariadne. He gasps while making his remarks clear, adding that she is someone who has the potential to raise the power of the Etruscan Kingdom to another level. Then when he finally remarks that he surely wants her as well, the queen claims how they will be done when Gallico comes to invade them in 2 months of time, as they barely have anything to fight against them. According to her, Gallico's King Philip wouldn't avoid engaging in a war if it means to secure his territory, and which is why if they do not act to bind the relationship with a marriage, there is no way the future of Etruscan will be guaranteed. Then when the queen herself feels sorry for not being able to create a stronger nation, Alfonso remarks that he already understands his feelings. But still, he claims that her son will be the one acting for the kingdom and will never try to betray the kingdom and the people in it. The day after, Lariessa and Alfonso go on to take a walk in front of a mountain where Lariessa keeps on praising the beauty of nature. While they continue to discuss about the pleasures and the beauty, Alfonso continues to remember the discussion that he had with Ariadne, and remembers how he promised her that he will be sending an invitation to her to take a visit to the places in the country. Alfonso still tries to keep the discussion active between the princess and himself, knowing that even though it wouldn't attract her attention that much, it is something after all. When Alfonso pours her the tea, she starts acting ecstatically because of it, claiming that his behavior is making her happy. Alfonso tries to go along with her, which makes her feel even better, adding that they might be the proof of destiny. But her remarks only continue to make Alfonso feel like shit, as he surely doesn't believe the same thing. He thinks that there is no way he would be believing in this kind of destiny. On the other hand, Ariadne keeps on waiting for his invitation while residing in front of the windows in the winter. She thinks that she must not be surprised by it, since she had been expecting it in the first place, as he is about to be connected to Lariessa diplomatically, so she wouldn't be able to see him in the meantime. She thinks that she will be needing to prepare what is about to happen for the incident, as soon the incident will occur which will push Isabella to be the crown princess for him. The sole incident was when Cesare's mother Rubina would poison the queen to death. The moment Margaret was poisoned by her husband's other wife, and the mother of Count Cesare, the home of her which is the Gallico Kingdom, ended up attacking the Etruscan Kingdom for finishing off one of their royals. They ended up attacking the kingdom in spite of it, and for that sole reason, the opposition against both of the countries ended up breaking up the marriage of Alfonso and Lariessa in the first place. Soon enough, Leo III wanted someone who had no military power behind her to become the wife of the prince, who ended up becoming none other than Isabella, as she was selected based on her background. Ariadne knows that if things continue to keep like this, they will continue to move into the regular ways of the system, which will continue to make the situation even tougher for Ariadne to grasp onto it. She thinks that if someone out of the cardinal's daughter ended up becoming the wife of Alfonso, she thinks that she needs to be the one to be married to him. She thinks that she might be able to lie and wait, even though Margaret ended up doing a favor to her, and at the same time, Alfonso would be quite broken after his mother's death. Ariadne feels responsible for it and thinks that she will continue to blame herself that she wouldn't be able to keep it from happening, since the unfortunate event will end up favoring her in the end. Then when she keeps on quoting the whole event, her maid starts asking her about her acts, as they sound hard to understand for her. As it comes to the topic of beeswax, Ariadne keeps on making even more quotes at the same time, as she knows that she will need to act on the need, since she already knows that people will soon start to need the products made by beeswax. In her previous life, she had already seen that when the summer of 1123 would occur, the bubonic plague would be hitting the kingdom, and at that moment, the beeswax will be used to prevent the disease from spreading, which means that the incident will only help her more. Ariadne continues to buy more and more cheap beeswax, as she knows that the saving will continue to favor in her regards to make a profit from it. She thinks of selling the product at higher prices when they will be in demand, and keeps on buying them at current cheap rates. But she needs to think about changing another fate as well, which is of Arabella, and it seems that Arabella is frustrated because she doesn't have any private female teacher who would be able to teach her how to compose. Ariadne suggests that she could just study abroad in Padua, which excites her as she thinks that it will change her life. But Arabella doubts that she would be able to go abroad because she is a girl after all, and the elder son also studies in the same city as the whole city is popular for people to gather around and focus on their knowledge. Also, there is an issue since it is said that they do not really accept girl students for their studies, and Ariadne introduces Arabella to a new musical university found in the city, suggesting that Arabella should need to send a portfolio of her there. Arabella gets excited and ends up embracing Ariadne, and her smiles only remind Ariadne of the past events that happened to her, resulting in her death. She knows that if the plague was the reason how she died, she will be needing to place her somewhere where the plague wouldn't be able to reach her. Ariadne makes a promise saying that she will be the one making Arabella live longer than she did in the past, accepting Arabella as her new family. But when the news reaches to the dining table, Arabella's mother fires up in front of everyone, and even though she adds that her own brother studies there, she doesn't ease up at all. According to her, nobody would be able to compare themselves to the elder son of the family. And after hearing her talk, Ariadne gets into the matter herself on her own accord. When he hears about the reasons, he starts asking if there is any kind of specific reason why she would want to chase a musical career that hard, and she starts planning it all inside of her head, knowing that more daughters will mean more dowry in their favor. Ariadne adds that they should let Arabella live in the University of Music associated with the convent, which will automatically regard her as a sincere and simple lady. Even though Arabella ends up getting nervous herself, Ariadne suggests to keep herself calm as she is about to handle the matter on her own, on behalf of her. The moment the cardinal decides to think about the matter, Ariadne knows that the plan is about to work, but the mother continues to look at her with dirty eyes. Soon enough, the mother takes a trip somewhere unknown as she is forced to make some steps, and it seems that she ended up reaching to some with like future-seeking lady. Also, it seems that the weird woman surely knows about her identity, even though she didn't talk about her identity in the first place. The trivial woman named a truth-sayer gypsy seems to be able to let someone know about their future by using tarot cards, and whenever some disaster occurs, they are all somehow considered as sacrifices. It is said that some special measures must have been taken about this type of woman, especially for clergymen and their families. The stepmother of Arabella knows that there is no way her husband would let her life if he somehow finds out that she ended up reaching out to someone like her. But she thinks that she would have had to make it happen anyways, since she is the one closest person to Rubina, who ended up becoming the lover of the king, and all of the things that she ended up saying about her ended up becoming the truth. She thinks that Rubina hasn't been taken by a pagan judge for 20 years. She thinks that she must be able to have the same fate as well. But the most important thing is that she believes that she will be able to rely on it properly till the end of it. The woman starts to blabber the truth about her feelings almost instantly, and it makes her wonder how come the woman might be able to know something about it. When it comes to the fact of her worries, she remembers how her daughter is kind of similar to being imprisoned in her own room, while the little one ended up matching up too much with the traitor that she hates with all of her might. Now she cannot get along with her relatives and she cannot be able to send them money, which makes her feel like shit as she thinks that the woman surely knows her, and she doesn't need to say anything new. When she thinks that the woman will be able to help her out, the woman suggests that she should take a look at the ball, so she could see the things happening in front of her. The moment she looks into it, the woman claims that she will be able to see someone with a noble blood with Isabella, as she would end up becoming the king's wife, despite having severe difficulties. But even though it must have happened normally, she thinks that the favor is about to change gradually, as Ariadne is the one who would be acting against her wishes to make it not happen till the end. Then soon the ball ends up bursting with full force, which makes the woman believe that they have seen something they shouldn't have, and even the future doesn't want to reveal itself right now. Then when the mother thinks of moving on for the money, the witch calls her from behind asking if she should be feeling that okay when it is the talk about her daughter's future. Then conscious mother starts asking about what she will be able to make it change for her daughter, and she adds that the gemstone will be working in their favor as there will be new gems entering their home soon enough, which is nothing else than the blue heart of the deep sea. The witch demands that she will be needing to bring the gemstone inside her place, even if they cannot purify the evil inside the gem. She even increases the terror even more, adding that there are chances that Isabella would end up even dying. And the situation takes a move even more when the someone realizes that someone has broken the curse of the golden law. According to the unknown woman, she claims that 1,000 people have tried to change their fate, but people are yet to find success in that regard even now. as changing the past and cutting off cause and effect is harsh and is almost unchangeable in most cases. But even so, there is no guarantee that the destination wouldn't happen anyways. She adds that there is no way one should be related to the person on the judgment table. When the mother is back at home, she starts to fall ill after seeing through fate, and the fact that she was able to see Ariadne and Isabella continues to frustrate her even more. She thinks that she will truly need to purify the gem to save her daughter, so Ariadne isn't able to change anything. Then the frustration increases even more when the maid comes in saying that it might be similar to impossible as they have put someone on guard for 24 hours the whole day. The maid suggests to her that there will be ways to make it happen anyways if they end up meeting the woman astrologer, and they continue to make a journey toward the place once again for their betterment. At the same time, Ariadne senses that there might be something wrong, and Ariadne ended up bribing the charioteer so they can keep the matter in their own hands. Meanwhile, the astrologer can be seen wondering what she is about to have after delivering the heart of the Blue Sea, and it seems that Rubina ended up promising her an amount of 1,000 ducatos for it. Then when the mother comes in, she starts taking her inside excitedly thinking that she might have made it happen, and starts claiming that she will be taking it away from her to purify it. But the opposite happens and she ends up explaining the whole situation to the astrologer, and she starts adding how the situation would be continuing to crumble without the item even more. Knowing that there is no way she would be able to get any money from Rubina without the item, she makes a promise saying that she will try her best to extort money from some foolish woman such as the cardinal's wife. The moment she is about to begin the talk, the wife starts bragging about how she will be able to do anything for her daughter, and that while the system gets the astrologer to make unnecessary claims to make it more truthful, she starts adding how she will be needing the blood of a dead frog, the energy of a solitary Buddha, a tonic from the Moor Empire, and frankincense from the Yesek mountain, and adding it with gold that melts like lead while continuing to add it with 200 ducatos in the end. The amount of money starts banging inside of her head, knowing that she barely has anything to say when it comes to money, and accounting as Ariadne ended up taking away her authority. Sensing that the situation is bad for the wife, the astrologer continues to provoke her even more, adding that she will never be able to act like a pure mother if she cannot do something for her child. Then a few days later, the charioteer ends up saying anything to Sancha, the maid of Ariadne, and she starts spreading everything to her master. Ariadne thinks that if someone like her stepmother went to the dress shop, it means that she wanted to take note of the refund mentioned there, and assumes correctly that the astrologer might have wanted money from her. Then Ariadne soon gets the news from the butler saying that the cardinal was seen inside of her room at that moment. Then when Ariadne reaches into the room on her own, she notices that the mother and father both are inside of the room, taking a note of the black magical things on the ground. She doesn't realize what is happening, and the cardinal charges at the wife, demanding to know what is even happening in the first place, as if she wants her whole family to die. She even goes on to explain that she ended up doing it for the betterment of the family, as this is the only thing the astrologer wanted to happen, and continues to ask for his forgiveness. But Ariadne thinks that the cardinal will turn a blind eye to the whole incident, and the cardinal changes the environment in a mere minute, adding that he will be sending her to the Bergamot territory soon enough, so she wouldn't be able to interact with anyone in her whole life. He even takes out the ring from her fingers and decides to call in the butler to move out his wife in an instant. Then the cardinal gives the ring to Ariadne, as the ring is used by the one recognized as the lady of the household of the Damer, and the cardinal claims that he thought of keeping it for his daughter-in-law, but makes a decision to give it to Ariadne. Then as she finally gathers the whole power inside of the household, her stepmother continues to groan in pain and agony, realizing that she ended up losing everything. Soon the house starts to get taken care of, as her stepmother ended up making a mess in the whole room, and Ariadne feels like the cardinal is telling her to take care of Giada, the maid who used to work in favor of the wife. She knows that if she even ends up talking about it to someone outside of the house, all of them will be burned at the stake for sure as a predicament. Then as soon as Giada ends up mentioning that she was talking about the woman from Moor, she remembers how the moment she died, she only saw Isabella and a knight from the Empire of Moor, which means that the whole incident is related to the Moor Empire, which is related to shamanistic powers. She thinks that the Moorian lady might know about the knight as well, and thinks of relying on the fact as she has only one choice left right now. At that instant, Ariadne claims that they are about to head in the direction of the Moorian astrologer while carrying a huge sword in her hand. On the other hand, Lucretia is now stealing from the cardinal as much as she can, knowing that she will never be able to return to him ever again, so it will be wise for her to take as much as she wants and can. The butler continues to insist that she will be needing to hurry, but she wants to meet Isabella before leaving, and she ends up requesting that she wants to send a letter at least to Isabella for sure. Then when she ends up writing for both of her children, the butler mentions the name of Arabella, and she adds that there will be nothing for her since she is nothing but a child right now. While leaving through the gate of the house, she promises that there is no way she will be leaving the house properly, promising that she will be back to go against Ariadne. On the other hand, Ariadne suggests Sancho to stay with Guisop to keep herself safe while she goes on to handle the matter of the astrologer. Then when Giada suggests that she will be staying outside, Ariadne adds that there is her need in the room, and while both of them are conversing with each other, the Morian lady ends up falling down on the ground out of nowhere. As Ariadne confronts her, she starts acting as if she doesn't even know anything about the event that happened. When Ariadne is about to confront her, knowing that Rubina wouldn't keep a swindler on her side, the woman starts to stutter while pointing at her, saying that she is the one who is to be blamed for the crystal ball getting broken apart in the first place. But she starts to confuse herself even more, asking Ariadne why she would have only half of the mole. Ariadne doesn't understand what she is saying, and the woman shouts at her asking what she should be to walk the Etruscan lands with Amhara's magic, demanding that she should explain why she would be put judgment on the table. As the astrologer starts to lose consciousness as her body begins to crumble because of some unknown reasons, Ariadne starts asking her about what a judgment table must be. It seems that not only the astrologer but Giada is also facing the same fate at the same time, and Ariadne continues to demand both of them to stay awake as she needs them to answer the questions for her own better as if her life depends on them. As Ariadne continues to haggle with the astrologer woman, Giada's body ends up crumbling on her own like it was some kind of magic, breaking her body into pieces. The astrologer claims that she cannot do that at any cost, since she will be needing a price to pay if she is the one to reveal it in the first place. She even shows the body of Giada, as only her clothes are left on the ground, and nothing else of her body is inside of the clothes. Ariadne realizes that the astrologer surely knows something crucial, so she ends up revealing the knife that she was carrying from the house to threaten her. She demands to know from the woman if the price of her life is greater than that, and the woman then thinks of something and decides to talk to her about it little. Then she starts claiming how someone who ends up stepping onto the judgment table ends up receiving powers from those who keep their eyes open, as the eyes are called the future eyes, while looking at the eyes of Ariadne. She even goes on to add how she ended up seeing the future and needed to act upon it to change it on her own. The woman claims that if anyone ends up having some pain, she will be the one to pay the price for it, as if someone will have to suffer 100 times for that. But in the end, she will be able to get revenge for 101 times. She keeps on repeating that Ariadne will be the one paying the price for everything, and continues to cling on to her life to keep herself awake from being dead. The woman suggests Ariadne to live a life without grievances and even any kind of anger, as it is necessary for her to do so. After going back home, Ariadne starts to think what should have happened if she ended up placing Sancho in the place of Giada, and continues to remember what has happened to Giada in an instant. Then after seeing her, Sancho claims that it will be better for her to handle things like that, as she doesn't want her master to see things so ugly as that on her own. After hearing her, she thinks that there is no way she could be doing that, as she has already heard the woman laying the truth in front of her, as she is wanting to live for people that she loves, and she will be willing to sacrifice as much as she can for them. She thinks that she is trying her best to save everyone around her, but her broken heart isn't letting her to cope with all that, since she was already betrayed once in her previous life. Soon Ariadne takes the duty of taking care of the whole household after letting the maids know that something ugly has happened inside of the household. She also lets everyone know that Sancho will be the one handling all the major matters if she has to, and orders everyone to help her as much as they can for the betterment of the situation. She adds that they will be increasing the security, claiming that Guisop will be the one to take the role of leading the new security guards, and suggesting that he will be needing to talk to the people who want to support her. Ariadne makes it remarkable in front of everyone that she is truly looking forward to meeting someone who will be worthy of her time and loyal at the same time. When Ariadne continues to move on, Sancho gets excited and emotional because of Ariadne's success, and she starts to wonder if they have taken care of Lucretia for their life. Meanwhile, back in the city where the university is, the elder son thinks of returning to the city of San Carlo, as he has already gotten the news of everything happening inside of their house. He even thinks that he might have to cancel the graduation to return to his home, and lets his friend know that his mother was chased out of the house. When his friend doesn't understand his situation, He asks him back if he would have been able to focus on his studies while something like this happened back in his home. He thinks that he will be needing to take care of his duty as a child, which is even more important than taking care of the studies. Even though his friend tries to make him understand the best way possible, he thinks that there is no way that is about to happen since he isn't much concerned about it at all. He thinks that he will be getting the same kind of opportunity once again in his life, claiming that he will be back someday once again. Somewhere else, a maid named Maleta is dreaming how she will be able to accompany Isabella when she will be married to the prince, and one day she will even be able to choose her man from the palace of the royal family. She continues to think about her fruitful future, and at that moment, some other maid starts calling for her as she will be needing to stop dreaming for real and focus on her work to meet her men's. Maleta realizes that she is told to clean the maids' rooms and she gets shocked after hearing it. And the moment she is there to make her demands clear, Sancha comes in front of her, who is now the head of all the maids. Maleta starts agonizing the moment she notices Sancha in front of her, and she promises to herself that she will someday get back at her for sure. As both of them go in opposite directions, Sancha notices that Guile is standing in front of her in the garden while she is about to tidy the clothes. After wondering for a while, Guile ends up showing her something in his hand, claiming that she should be taking it for sure, and moves on from the place of shyness. Then as she opens the cloth, she notices that the packet is filled with high-class snacks that are eaten by the nobles, which makes her wonder why he would be giving them to her in the first place. Soon when Sancha reaches Ariadne, she starts asking how much she truly hates Maleta, and as Sancha is confused, Ariadne claims that she will be needing to confirm something. Even though Maleta is the only relative that she has relating to her blood, Sancha confirms that there is no way she will ever be able to forgive her since one day she decided to throw away her own family to see through the betterment of her own life. Knowing that the elder son Ippolito is about to return, Ariadne claims that she will be giving him the room of Lucretia to her brother, and at the same time, Maleta will be the one to take care of him, which shocks the hell out of Sancha as she is unable to understand what Ariadne is trying to do. Sancha thinks that Ariadne is joking with her, and playfully begins asking her about it. But when Ariadne keeps herself quiet, Sancha understands that she surely isn't joking at all. Then Sancha claims that there is no way it will be her having the revenge for herself, but she considers the job to be a reward for Maleta since she thinks that the elder son will be the head of the family. Ariadne suggests that she should calm down to listen to her, and states that she will be leaving it to Maleta since she is the one who actually desires it in the first place. She thinks that even though Maleta would be trying to consider Ippolito to be her holy grail, he will end up becoming the poison that will continue to take her life out of her grasp in the first place. Ariadne promises that she will be bringing the end that Maleta deserves in the end, while making a cunning face in front of Sancha. Then when Ippolito finally returns to the house, he starts gathering people by calling out to everyone, and the cardinal is quite excited to see that his son has finally returned back home. As the father begins to ask if he ended up finishing his studies and came back, he decides not to dwell on it much, saying that he has indeed to hide the truth from his father. At that moment, Ariadne comes into the room, welcoming her brother, and the moment Ariadne looks him straight in the eyes, he starts to wonder how she is acting that daring in the first place. When it comes to the topic of his room being prepared, the cardinal claims that his mother's room has been prepared instead, since the room will be empty and ruined if nobody continues to live in that room for a long time. Understanding that he wouldn't be able to make any scene in there, Ippolito decides to listen to the whole thing, and Ariadne introduces himself to the maid who will be appointed to him. The moment he takes a look at Maleta, he takes her in his hands and starts acting all bubbly, while suggesting to her that she will be needing to take care of the luggage that he brought inside the house. Then as time passes, Maleta almost becomes his personal whore, and she continues to press him to buy a ring for her, as she is hoping to get something luxurious out of him. Everyone starts to notice that Maleta and Ippolito are having some kind of indecent relationship with each other, and Maleta continues to act heavily in front of Sancha as she thinks that she is getting along with the next family head. One day Sancha ends up starting an argument with Maleta because of her behavior, and as Sancha couldn't stand Ariadne being insulted, she decides to state that she will be chased away. And at that place, Ippolito arrives and starts asking her who will be the one chasing Maleta away. Even though Sancha gets insulted by Ippolito, she decides to digest it on her own, knowing that she has to believe in Ariadne. While Ariadne continues to wonder about Ippolito and his work, he ends up getting inside her room, demanding to know why she had been sending only 15 ducatos for him each month of the timeline. Then instead of getting silent, she ends up asking him how much he would have deserved in the first place, and he adds that his mother has been sending the additional amount of 23 ducatos each month for him. After checking out the ledger, Ariadne notices that he had been getting 23 ducados more since he was studying abroad, and claims that he will be needing to state his reasons if he needs more money for himself. Instead of giving any kind of reason, he starts shouting at her, and Ariadne proposes that they would be deciding the matter in front of their father, which makes him only angrier. Then as he returns back inside his room, he continues to knock down everything in his room in anger, and as he somehow comes in front of his mother's ring, he starts to have some kind of shock. As the memories of his mother hit him, he realizes that Miletta is the reason why he had been forgetting his mother. On the other hand, when Arabella gets into the room filled with gifts sent by Count Cesare, she starts looking into the bunch of letters only to find one shady letter inside of the drawer. But the moment she gets on to take a look into the document, Ariadne starts demanding the letter back from her, and she decides to listen to Ariadne in that instant. When Ariadne realizes that she made a mistake, Arabella asks why the clothing straps might be that important to her, but she knows that she cannot tell the real meaning behind it to her. Then when all of them meet in the dining room, Ippolito claims that he wants to celebrate the birthday of his father, adding that Isabella and their mother should be present at the function for sure. Ariadne knows that she will need to do something, and ends up agreeing with him for some reason behind it. Then when the cardinal asks if he knows what he is saying, Ippolito claims that his father surely knew about his mother being like that, adding that his mother wasn't thinking with her head, knowing that Isabella's reputation has been tainted by some people. He claims that he will be the one taking responsibility of his mother, so he can surely bring her back home. And the father ends up trusting his son, realizing that it must be necessary as he will have to trust him as he will be the next head of the family soon enough. Then when Ariadne claims that she wants the same, Ippolito starts to wonder if Ariadne ended up learning her lesson, and this might be the reason why she is suggesting the same to their father. Ariadne proposes that they will have to have a meal in the restaurant, and the moment the mother returns back at home, she thinks that she might be feeling quite down compared to the fact that she is the owner of the house. When she is regretting her current formation, Ariadne stands in front of her with the army of maids behind her. The sole existence of Ariadne annoys the hell out of her. But Lucretia thinks that nothing will be needed to do against Ariadne as her son will be the head of the family soon enough. When the whole family reunites, all of them start getting emotional on their own, asking about their situation. But in that sole situation, Lucretia notices that her son is now having some kind of affair with the maid. She starts making him understand that he cannot have something like that beside him, and Ippolito claims that Miletta is quite smart when it comes to her abilities and insists on vouching for her. When the family moves on, Miletta realizes what has happened and starts to collide her mind with conflicting thoughts. Back at the table, when Ippolito suggests that they need to get back to taking everything into the hands of Lucretia, the cardinal claims that that is not about to happen since he is never about to trust her ever again. The cardinal adds that their mother can set up a budget, and Ariadne will be the one confirming it. And Ariadne knows that she will have to fight back, and she does to regain her position once again. At that moment, Ippolito claims that she will be needing to say yes only when their father talks, as she should be in no position to make demands. When the situation doesn't get too well for Ariadne, she starts to claim that she wants to present something in front of everyone, adding that Ippolito has already asked for more funds out of her even though he had been receiving 15 ducados. Then when Ariadne brings up the topic that Ippolito had been having the same facility for a long time, he decides to hide the fact, saying that he had to make some managements on his own behalf. Ariadne ends up breaking through his defenses, revealing the matter, including Miletta in this whole time, even pointing at her. Realizing that Ariadne will be needing to play it rough, she calls in Sancha, showing the ledger that Lucretia wrote and even the receipt of trade with Laziane's dress shop. The topic of rebating from the dress funds end up angering the cardinal so badly that he ends up calling her out in front of everyone once again. He is angered by the fact that all of his treasured money went to Lucretia's family this whole time, and as Ariadne continues to put oil into the collision, the matter gets even more serious. The cardinal claims that he will never be returning the seal back to his wife ever again, and he runs back to his room, adding that she will be needing to live as if she is dead. Then when Lucretia wants to get back to her room, Ariadne claims that she must be living in the guest room on the first floor, and Miletta gets the task of guiding her. When they are alone, Lucretia starts lashing out on the maid, knowing that she has hands all over her son's body, and she has ruined his life. Then when Ariadne notices that Arabella is having too much pain on her own, she faces the inability to comfort her since she is the one who made it this way. Then when Ariadne thinks of taking her back to eat food, Isabella comes in to berate Ariadne, calling Ariadne a traitor as she is the reason why their mother isn't at the house. When Isabella finishes her shameful speech, both Ariadne and Arabella continue to keep standing on the ground. While Arabella asks Ariadne to hold her, she cries her eyes out and Ariadne keeps on consoling her by embracing her at that instant. Then when Lucretia ends up getting Meleta alone in her room, she begins her torture, and no matter what way Meleta tries to react, nothing ends up satisfying Lucretia. When Ippolito ends up entering the room noticing that his mother is beating Meleta, he finds it tiring that he is not able to find any maid to get him a glass of water. Lucretia suggests that he should take Meleta away, but she understands that he is taking her side in the first place, as if he is leaving her. But Meleta is angry that he didn't care much even for the fact that Lucretia was beating her all alone. Both Lucretia and Meleta know that their life cannot keep on going this way. Ippolito gets the idea of going to Taranto as there are a lot of parties and suggests that Meleta will be having quite so much fun there. Then when they continue to spend quite some time in Taranto, Ippolito is relaxed as he is able to avoid his mother and even let Meleta shop on her own. At the time when he reaches his friends, he meets a mysterious character, and a friend of his, who is none other than Count Cesare.